things that are actually in the system that can allow us to actually do a good job of checking. And I also want to have a discussion with you to hear what's happening in your school. Am I being idealistic with what I'm talking about? Is the picture I'm seeing vastly different from what you're seeing at school? I'd be interested in seeing that. But as you can see from here, what I do want us to take away, what we're seeing from the dashboard, Lorna and I didn't wake up this morning and quickly type it in, comes directly from SA SAMs in your school, which is informed by the various documents that are coming from the classroom, right? So at this point, like I said, I'm not going to be doing a lot of waka waka from my side. I do want to hear from you. I'm going to start with a question here. And the question is, if the data on the DBE dashboard comes from SA SAMs, what is your role as an SMT to ensure data quality on SA SAMs? So I'm just going to flip back to Teams so I can see you there. So let's ask that question. What is your role as an SMT, as a member of the school management team, as far as ensuring that the records are of a quality? Anyone want to take a stab at it by raising their hands? Or else I'm going to have to pick on some people. Excuse me for that. All right, let me hear from you, Steve Ramashala. Steve, if you could just arm your mic and let us know, what do you think? In fact, first of all, just describe your role for us as far as the SMT goes. Are you an HOD? Are you a principal? Are you a deputy? And express to us what you think your role is in ensuring that the records are complete and correct.
All right, Musa, thank you very much for that. I am Steve. I am the Maths HOD at Naledi. I am also a maths teacher who teaches grade 11 and 12. Now, my role, primarily from the data I get from the SSMs, is that of verification. I need to verify that whatever that I'm going to see or will be printed out for me by the SSM's people who have been capturing, the marks is verified. I don't only verify the marks, but I also verify, you see, on the mark schedule there, there's a part where there's a part where it says the number of years in the grade and the number of years in the phase. So basically, Musa, I think my role is to quality assure.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Thanks for that response, Steve. Is there anyone who's saying something similar to Steve or something different, or someone in a different role to express what that role means for you in terms of data completeness? Let me see here if there's any hands raised. I see Shezi is being assisted to log in and having their video on, no problem there. But anyone else would like to weigh in on that discussion? What is our role in as far as ensuring the quality? I love what Steve is saying, verifying. Is there another word we can add there next to verifying as far as this is concerned? Let me pick on, let's see here. Let me pick on Victor. Victor, would you be so kind as to arm your mic? Let us know what your role is and talk to us about how, your thoughts on this subject. Victor, are you still with us?
Hello, can you hear me now?
I hear you great, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so you said I must elaborate or add on what Steve has said.
And of course, tell us what your role is in your school side.
Oh, I'm a coordinator and I'm a CAT teacher.
Oh, okay. And yeah. What do you believe is your role in this whole journey of the data moving from the classroom to the dashboard?
Yeah, it is to be able to have as much quality data from our learners as possible, so that when you do the processing, we'll be able to exactly have whatever information that is required, that we have mentioned already, that we need to have the pie charts for, say, results, for what's curriculum, etc. Now, if you have enough data, you can actually even do more than that. You can track the learners that are struggling. You can track learners that are doing very well. And those who normally doesn't like to go to SIP, it's easy to track that and maybe send messages to their parents to help the learner. I think so far, that's how I understand it. Thank you.
Thank you for that response, Victor. I like how he actually closed the loop to say, this data, it's not just an exercise in compliance where we are making sure the data is complete and correct just for its own sake so that it sits in a file cabinet out there somewhere. I love that he's saying it allows us to actually take that data and actually inquire or analyze and find out exactly what the performance is looking like for our learners. And, you know, if you in the past were taking mark sheets and using a calculator and ending up on Excel to come up with those insights, what I want to welcome today is the power of the dashboard to allow that process to be simple. Also, colleagues, while we are having a discussion, please feel free to also type your responses. If you prefer to rather type your responses, that's also very much accepted, and then I'll read them on my side. But if you're having a quick note, a quick thought, something very similar to what the young ones are calling tweeting, is very, very welcome to do that in description. Any thought that you're having as we're continuing to put that there. So that's the question as far as the role. The next question I'd like to ask is, what are some of the checkpoints in your school's process to ensure that the data is of quality? Steve and Victor, very clear to say there's a validation process that needs to happen. But I want you to take me through it. As a person who is not in the school, talk to me as far as an assessment has been done in a classroom for your subject. Talk to me about all the steps until it ends up at the clerk who is tapping in the front. Is there anyone who'd like to take that one for their school? Who shall I pick on? Medidue, are you still there with us? If you could, don't forget to unmute yourself there. Button on the top right of your Teams, you'll see there's a stroke on your microphone. You'll have to click that for me if you want to comment. Medidue, are you still there? And while she is finding her mic, let me also pick on Hetzba. If you're still there, what are some of the processes you have in your school from classroom to SA SEMS, if I could hear that discussion?
Hi, Musa. Of course, a teacher, him or herself, has to double check his marks, adding up, asking somebody else to check. Then when you write the marks on the mark sheets, that has to be double checked. Then the mark sheets are submitted to your HOD. He double checks, selects, moderates, double checks, and then the marks get sent to the data capturer, if you're lucky to have somebody like that, or else you submit it yourself.
Wow.
Yes, and then let me think. We used to have something like 4 mark sheet systems. It was your own raw mark sheets, then your mark sheets on Excel, then you had to do it on SA SAMS, and there was another one, I can't remember the name, and all of those systems to make sure that all the marks come to the same averages. And even if it missed by a decimal point 1 or 2, you still had to go back and find out where the differences came in.
That's fantastic.
And then the academic deputy principal double checks, literally, she double checks every teacher, every child, every subject, mark sheets, sends them back to the HOD, back to you. So there were lots of systems. And then in another school where I was, we would take all our scripts, literally all your marking, to the hall, and then people would be assigned to different grades. It didn't matter what subjects, but then teachers had to take every script or task and compare it to the mark sheet to make sure that the marks, after all of that checking, that the marks are right, that it is according to what is on the mark sheet. And you'd be surprised that you still get even data capturing marks. I mean, if you skip one learner, everybody else's marks below that mistake are wrong. And we pick up mistakes like that too still. I was quite surprised. I thought it was utterly ridiculous.
Wow.
But it was a tremendous process.
It does sound very intense, you know, for the team on the ground. However, I'm loving it because for me as a person with such a concern to ensure that the data is correct, that sounds perfect. Is there anyone else on the ground who maybe has a different process to that? Is there anyone who has a different process to that? Or actually, you know what, if you could just type here whether or not your process is different, I'd appreciate that. But I think the key takeaway here that I'm getting from Headspa is to say, as a curriculum head of department, yes, you check the mark sheets, but after something has been captured on SASAMs, anything that's on SASAMs can result itself into a printout. You print out those mark sheets again and you check them against the original. There has to be a process that looks like that. And you might decide to do random sampling where you don't necessarily do for all of them. But it's very important to have some kind of validation after the data has been captured on SASM to ensure it's correct. And you know, a process that most of us may not be aware of, I promise you, like clockwork, every time I ask someone, hey, are you aware of this process as a principal? Even till today, I still remember my very, 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 very first training in the organization was in KZN, and I was asking the principals that I was with, are you aware of this process? They outright denied knowing of it. So I'm just going to backtrack a couple of slides, if you allow me, taking you back to the value structure. So you'll see here with the value structure, so like I said, the data upon going through the process that you've described that happens in your school, data is captured. It then gets uploaded on a weekly. There's a weekly schedule of uploading, and then there's a term-based schedule of uploading. Both of them lend themselves ending up with the value structure checking the information. But before you give a thumbs up and a go ahead, there is a document here that is printed that is called a sign-off sheet. The sign-off sheet looks exactly like this value structure here in that it will notify to say, look, some things are red, some things are green. And at the bottom has a place where the principal, as the custodian of the school, signs and puts a stamp to say this data has been verified. I don't imagine seeing a principal actually doing that. Maybe sometimes it might be the deputy. Be that as it may, someone has to say, look, the data that is being sent on the dashboard has been verified and we found it to be in good standing. And the idea is that that document is filed along with others. And it allows for an opportunity for you, principal, even if you're not savvy with SASAMs, you just need to see whether something is red or green, and that's it. And if it's red, your simple question is, I see there that the promotion data is incomplete. Is there a reason for that? Now, another bonus that I like about the value structure is that if you actually go to it while you're capturing, if I click any of these buttons, it will take me to a step-by-step guide on how to actually correct the part that we are seeing as red. So that's another layer of verification that can be helpful. So while the data is correct, we're also making sure that it is complete. And, you know, let me now move on to the very last question on this discussion. And I actually want everyone to comment. Just give me a role or give me a name. And my question there is, if I can just go back to those questions. The question I want to ask you is, who is responsible for data quality in the school? Is it the data capturer or the administrator or the clerk or whoever you call them? Is it the HOD? Is it the principal? Is it the learner? Who is responsible for data quality in the school? I want to hear everyone's voice on this. I'm going to start with you, Victor. Give me a name there. Who do you think is responsible?
Yeah. In my opinion, I think everybody at school is responsible for this data quality, because if as a teacher I need data and my learners do not give me a quality data, then I won't be able to submit that quality data. So everyone at school is responsible for the quality of the data at school. Thank you.
Yeah, Victor has actually stalled the anticipation that I was trying to build. He's exactly right. Every single human being who is in a role in the school is responsible for the data in one way or the other. It might be just the educators who are, everyone, educators, department heads, the principal, we all have a part to play in the process. And what I do want to say very strictly, though, is that the administrator is not one of those people who are first to be responsible. Yes, they might be responsible for the capturing, but the implications of that capturing will never rest with the administrator. So it's very, very important to make sure that there are systems surrounding the administrator to ensure that before and after they are capturing, things are exactly as we, the HODs, the SMT, things are exactly as us, the SMT, are expecting them to be. All right. All right, so I'll leave it there with the information, with the discussion about sourcing the data. I really love that discussion that we've had. I do at this point now want to move on to the next topic very quickly and talk about the school improvement process. And let me just read it the way it's put here: data for managing the school improvement process. And, when we look at here in the next slide, we've got the 9 focus areas of the, you'll correct me, Lorna, of the whole school. Is this the 9 points of the whole school evaluation, or these the 9 points of the school improvement point? Do you mind just correcting me there, Lorna? If you're still there.
I am still here. Sorry, I was listening to the other training that's happening simultaneously.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sorry, what is the?
I just want to ensure that these 9 points, are these the 9 points of the whole school evaluation, or are these the 9 points of the school improvement plan? In my mind, I always mix the two.
They're this one and the same. So it starts.
Oh, it's one and the same.
Yeah, it starts off as the whole school evaluation, and then it turns into the whole school into the self-improvement plan.
Thank you so much for that clarification, Lorna. Be that as may, the point there, colleagues, is that for all the 9 points, whether basic functionality, leadership, most of them have a data point in the dashboard that speaks to it. So, for example, if one of the school evaluation topics is the learner achievement, and we're trying to discuss our school evaluation plan as far as the learner achievement is concerned, I want to assure you that there are data points in the dashboard that will speak to that. The reports come to mind very quickly. The learner chart report, very powerful report that we will actually really take some time to go through at length. So on the 9 points here, you are most likely to find something in the dashboard that will plug you data so that you are working from a situation where you have facts about what's happening in the school in your decision making. This process historically has been a qualitative process with little data included in it. There's not enough data plugged into it. However, like I'm saying, the dashboard allows both the SIP and the WSC to be very quickly supported. So as you can see here, there's magnifying glasses here. The little magnifying glasses indicates where the data on the dashboard links to a particular focus area, and we will discover in a moment some of those places. But again, like I said, just to drive the discussion again, I have 3 questions here, and I'm just going to read all 3 of them and then see who would like to actually participate in answering some of them. So as an SMT, where and when are you using data in your plans? So when you're setting up your plans, when exactly is it important to start speaking about data? Anyone wants to take that one in? Who has been quiet? I have someone named Shezi Mdeni. They were not here during the They joined us a little later. They were not here during the check-in, but the person marked as Shezi, would you like to comment there? And the question is, when do you use data in planning for school improvement? Okay. It doesn't seem like they're in a position to speak to me. And I'm going to pick on Mem Dindowe again. Mem, are you still there? You know, I know there was training very recently that was cancelled because of a fear of using some of this technology, but I like it when things don't always go right, because it means on the other side we're learning it, and next time we become a little bit experts in using these new Teams platform. Trust me, even myself, a little bit struggling from time to time. Lots of questions that I still have about this platform, but you know, it's the new normal. So this is how we're doing training from now on. I can't actually just pick on you and just point you in the classroom and find out what you have to say, but here we are. I have someone marked as Lord. I don't know whether that's the name of your name or the name of your school. Lord, are you with us? And the question I'm asking.
Yes, I am.
Thank you very much, sir. I just want to ask very quickly, where does data come in when we are doing planning around school improvement planning?
In all areas, everywhere, data is needed.
Great stuff. And is there a best practice in a meeting that you normally use to ensure that data is part of the conversation? Is there anything where you, during a meeting, you know, in your planning of a meeting or when the meeting is going on, what are some of the tricks of the trade that you use to ensure that data becomes focused in the conversation?
Yeah, I'm not clear about that one.
No problem. So what I will say is that what I do want us to take away, my apologies there. So what I do want us to take away here is that, and this is something I normally hear with when I'm in a meeting where some of my colleagues who work in different provinces are in, is that the normal way we sometimes see data being used, data is used for, you know, for admonition, for fault finding, for pointing fingers. Yeah. I mean, even now, my son came with his report, and you know, his report, he was like just straight. He's a straight 40s student this term. It seems like he's determined to get no less or no higher than 40 for all of his subjects, you know. And he brought the report, you know, and his mom did not waste time, you know, because the report came. He left the report, and then he left to go play. I opened the report. I show the report to his mom. I'm like, let's have a look here. Look at that. Straight 40s. He's passed. But wow, you know, what an incredibly average and even below average performance. And his mom's and yes, she's gonna be the bad guy in the story. The immediate response was no more Wi-Fi, no more PlayStation. You know, he sleeps at 8, studies at least 2 hours, and I want to see his homework. And she's already checking his homework, you know. And that's, you know, even in our circles as leaders in the school setting, sometimes the report, or rather the data, finds itself landing there. Yeah, you know, you pull your socks up. And we want to encourage that that's not the best use of the data. The data, I mean, I like what Lorna has done here with these slides. Think of it as a mirror showing you what is there. It is there. The data is simply letting you know of something that would have been there, whether you decided to look for it or not, which is awesome because it's defining, the data is already defining the problem for us to say, look, we are, you know, maybe our attendance is a little bit below the threshold. You know, this particular subject seems to be failing, and this is awesome. This is great. This is called feedback, because when we're now putting together plans with the limited resources, I mean time, I mean personnel, I mean with the rotation, we can be very direct, because data is screaming out to us to say, this is where you need to be focusing, and allowing us to plan, allowing us to track. And it's exactly like one of the colleagues said, I believe, Victor, there's no place where data cannot be plugged in the conversation. So the takeaway there, colleagues, is to say the data that is on the dashboard, when we're having our school evaluation and our improvement plans, this data can become key as a mirror showing us exactly what is happening in our school, so that our interventions and our plans are relevant. All right.
So before you move on,
yes,
Hesper had her hand up during the
conversation. Thanks for that. Hesper, please go ahead. Your mic is on. Just talk. We can hear you fine.
It's slow sometimes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorna and Musa. You asked the question, where do we use data? And I must say, when I first heard of the DDD dashboard, it was like something out of space. They got something like that? What's that? And I've been teaching my whole life. I've never heard of this before. I was super impressed with the government and the Department of Education, really. And it's just such an amazing tool. But the question remains, do schools use this? I'm thinking of the schools present here, whoever attends this training, brought to us by NLF. And I'm wondering, how many schools out there really know this, and are they actually using it? Because I've never heard of this before, and you can get so much. If I could get my classes on there and the learners on there, there's so many questions I have as a teacher that if I knew they could extract that from the DDD dashboard, man, it changed the way you're teaching. So my question was, I'm not sure if people are actually using it. What percentage?
That's a very good question, Hesper. What I can tell you is, for me, just not enough schools are using the power of the dashboard. Unfortunately, it gives me a job because I keep speaking to schools, I keep speaking to individuals who need to be taught how to use the dashboard, I need to advocate for it and say, look, it's here, look how useful it is. Even as we speak, we're making some ground in the Western Cape, and there's a few schools there that are using CAPS-based curriculum and using SASAMs, and are very interested, and they're just eating this up, seeing the opportunity. So it's never enough for me. I wish I had the numbers with us. I see, Lorna, you have your video up. Would you like to weigh in?
Just to jump in, I think, Hesper, you've raised such an interesting topic, and I think that's why this workshop this afternoon is so important. In our rollout of the DDD dashboard over time, it's been very much focused on principals. And so every single school principal in South Africa has got a login detail to the dashboard. And we just haven't had the opportunity to share it with the broader SMTs at schools. So when this project came about and Zenex said that this needed to be a SMT initiative, it was just a wonderful opportunity for us to share this with the broader SMTs. And, I'm really going to ramble on here, but we did a focus group about 3 years ago with heads of department and looked at what were the roles and reports, mostly what was the reports that the HOD needed to complete and submit to various people or entities, and compared that with what data was available on the dashboard. And we estimated that about 50% of the frequent and regular reports that an HOD needed to complete was available on the dashboard. So, you translate that into hours saved, and putting that time for an HOD to put that time back into their family, into their classroom, into their preparation, it translates into a huge saving. And so, this, what you were saying, that there is so much, and this is just a huge opportunity for us to share that with the SMT.
Yes, thank you, Lorna. It's an incredibly powerful tool.
No, thank you very much, Lorna. I wasn't aware of the statistic. Wow, so many of our reports are actually just ready to download, on the dashboard without effort. Thanks, Edzpa. Thanks, Lorna. Anyone else would like to weigh in with regards to the questions raised here? And the question is, when do we use the data in our as SMTs? Okay, it doesn't seem to be anyone else, so I'll be moving on. And I've spoken at length about the dashboard, but what is it? What is this dashboard? Yes, I'm able to make decisions from it. Learner outcomes is what is key for it. But what is it? I mean, the best way that I can describe it is that it's a website. Okay, and in this website, you log into it similar in the way you'd log into either Facebook if you have that, or even your Gmail. You ask for your username and password. You'll go in, instead of seeing your Facebook or instead of seeing your Gmail, you'll be actually seeing the data for your school, right? And as you can see here, I've put the URL, or in other words, the address that you would type in to go to this dashboard. You can see here it's www.dbe-dashboard.co.za, right? Notes, if you're taking any, would be to try and endeavor to type that exactly as it is instead of using a Google search, for example, which might have unpredictable results. And then you have your username and your password that you would put, and we'll have a discussion there very soon as to where you can get that from if you don't have that. But I do want to show you just how easy it is to actually, I like the word play around. So, that's the word I'm not supposed to use, how to play around on the dashboard. But the official word I'm supposed to use is navigate. So the 5 things that I want you to be able to take notes about today. If you don't have access, when you do have access, you can just simply take your notebook and follow along with these instructions. As you can see, here is a slice of the dashboard here. And I like this slice because it's already breaking down the dashboard for us. Here it is a black area, and in that black area, you use that to navigate, from, if you're at school level, you use it to navigate to even lower levels, but it probably more useful if you're at a higher level, if you're at a district level or circuit level. This black area allows you to go from a district to a circuit, all the way to a school. But also this black bar here will have an area where you can actually log out, where you can check on your own information. So this part here, and I like that it's black. Think of it as a road. This is what you will use to travel up and down the dashboard. There's this blue area here. This blue area here will tell you where you are at the moment. As you can see from the slice here that we took, we are in District 12. And then finally, there's these 3 pages: summary, map, and reports. Summary will give you various bar graphs and pie chart graphs, simply essentially taking the information from the school, organizing it in terms of the grades, and then putting the information there in terms of the promotion, the achievement, and even the attendance that we're getting from the school, all put in a nice, user-friendly GUI, if you've ever heard that word before, with color coding, letting you know by using red when things are under a target. So that's what you'd see in summary. Maps will show you exactly where the school is, and there'll be other information there, and you can use actually maps to check whether the information of your school is up to date. And of course, the reports tab, if you click on that, you'll be able to go to the report. So that's an overview summary, but let me now take you step by step to some of the key features now that I've done that grand overview. First thing you see there is the coat of arms, our icon in education, or our emblem. If you click on that, it will take you home. So if you find yourself, playing around with the dashboard and, oh my goodness, where am I now? If you simply click on home, it will take you back to the beginning of the story. There's a convenience search there. If you can allow me to zoom in there. So right there in that black area, there's a search. If you click on that search, you'll be able to search for an educator or a learner in your school. And very quickly, information about that educator and that learner will come up for you, the attendance, how they're performing in the subjects they are learning or the subjects they are teaching, right? And then the next part there, very importantly, and this is a feature I think we often undersell, but I think this is incredible. My mother is an educator herself, and she always wants to say, I've got a learner here in, grade 7, and this learner is coming to me with gaps. And I just want to find out exactly how this learner performed in previous years. Maybe they've got a gap in grade 3, a very fundamental gap from all the way in grade 3. And I want to find out exactly what was happening there. Very easily, the dashboard allows you to view historical data. As you can see from this example, I'm looking at 2018 term 1 data available in the dashboard, and you can see exactly what was happening in the school in 2018 term 1. I'm hoping someone somewhere is going, wow, who didn't know that this feature was there? And again, while I'm able to change the terms using this button here, let me just select a pointer here. While I'm able to click on the button and actually select a year and a term, while I'm looking at the data as well, I can very quickly navigate back a term and just see, just flip back a page to the previous term and see what was happening in the previous term using this button here. And as you can see, the highlight here is letting me know that not only is this telling me where I am, or it's also telling me when I am. I'm in District 12 at the moment, and I'm looking at term 1 data from 2018. So you can use either this, the calendar icon, or you can actually even use this arrow here to go back a term and find yourself looking at historical data very quickly. Dashboard, is also very concerned about your airtime minutes. So, if you are on a web page, you would typically go to the top left. If you want to go to the previous page that you were on, you would typically go to the back button on the top left of your browser. And what that will do is it will literally re-download the previous page you were in. But if you're on the dashboard, by simply clicking this arrow here with the tail on it, it takes you back without actually having to re-download the page. It just takes it from the cache that is still stored, allowing you to move very quickly, not just back in time, but also back to the last thing you viewed. And of course, the one facing in the front will do the opposite. What am I doing today? Giving you just a small taste of what how easy it is to use the dashboard. I heard someone talk about complication. It's very, 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 very simple. You land and you see your school, and using buttons, you can go back to a previous term, and you can see various information sectioned very neatly here into summary, map, and reports. And we're going to talk some more about what that data looks like. So the topic that I want to very quickly move on to is the use of data in school management attendance, right? Now, attendance is going to be, I think, a very key discussion this year. And what the dashboard allows us to do, if you can just, let me just orientate you here on this page very quickly. Here on the corner, you're seeing an extract from the dashboard. Let's say I'm in my school. There will be a pie chart there speaking to learner and educator attendance. Notice that the pie chart is red, meaning that the aggregate or the summary attendance in my school, if I take all the learners and I count all the days they're supposed to be at school compared to the days they were not, the dashboard has taken all that data and is giving us a color coding and a number here. So it's red, meaning that it's below the target, right? And you might be thinking, but it's at 100. Why is it red? I'm going to discuss that in a second. But also here with the educator attendance, you can see 89%, and it's represented as a pie chart. The nice thing about it is that if you also click on that learner attendance summary at the top, it will take you to the breakdown on that summary page to see which grade contributed how much to that statistic. As you can see here, if you click on that, it will take you to a point where it will tell you, look, for grade 10, the learner attendance was at 100%. You've got 199 learners represented there. And you can see there's a small number there that says plus 13, which talks to an improvement to say this has been an improvement compared to a previous term. And of course, you've got it compared with an educator attendance day, which has also experienced a 1% improvement day in the snapshot that I've taken, right? So this is how it shouldn't look like. Now, you might be sitting there saying, what is the issue with 100%? Well, first of all, 100% learner attendance is an example of low data quality, because it is unlikely, and probably possible, maybe if all the learners, are very fit and then have had no sick days. But normally, even from a statistical standpoint, anything that is 100% requires more investigation. So when you're in your school and you're seeing, for example, one of the grades is at 100%, it might be worth a random check there to see if indeed was the data correct, because 100% is unlikely. I'm not going to say impossible, but it's unlikely. And usually, especially now, with how complicated attendance has become, if we're doing a rotation, this is the experience that I'm told is on the ground. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're doing a rotation, that is learners. I'm one of the learners in your school. I'm here this week and I'm not here in the following week, or I'm here Monday and I'm not here on Tuesday. The way SSMs is set up is the person who's capturing literally has to go to every learner and tick them. As the system says they're automatically present, you have to go in there and tick to say, yes, in fact, they are present, or no, they're absent. If you don't do that, it comes up as 100%. So that could be a way to check that, to say, are we actually actioning the attendance each and every day, or are we actually mass having certain groups and certain grades at 100%? So 100%, it will be on the red, and here 89% is on the red because it's below a threshold for the attendance. The dashboard has decided that, look, this attendance might be detrimental to learning time or education time if the learner or the educator is not there. And on the right, I've got an example of what grade attendance looks like. The idea there, not at 100, showing that, of course, there is actually counting of learners. In my mind, not possible, not likely that learners can be at 100%. And the educator, as you can see, it's turquoise, showing the turquoise color. And if it becomes below a certain threshold, then it will start showing up as red, indicating that data, that attendance is below what we want it to be, right? Let me move on quickly now to a snapshot of educator attendance. So as I've said, if you move, you get to the dashboard, there's these pie charts at the top. If you're in a school level and you just scroll a little bit down into summary, you'll see there'll be a tab there. Allow me to zoom into that. There'll be a tab there, and that tab will have the list of all the educators in your school and another list of all your learners. And if you click on any of these educators, it will take you to an even deeper breakdown. And you can actually see here if there's a trend in that educators' absenteeism. And more importantly, I've spoken to some of the guys, I've trained some of the guys who are actually involved with stats. Part of their mission is to ensure that every absenteeism, as you can see here, if I can just take us through that, upon clicking on the educator, there will be some information about the educator's qualification, the classes that the educator is responsible for. Right at the bottom, you'll see this area here, which is attendance. It will have the calendar for that term. A summary here at the top, you can see past 4 weeks, the days missed is 0. This term 4. This educator has been absent 4 days in this term, and the reasons summarized there: sick and reason not supplied, right? So the idea there is that the reason not supplied is irregular by policy, because each attendance needs to be matched with a reason and backing documents that are relevant, and you are able to actually follow that up and ensure that your records are up to date. And more importantly, you can see here, we have an educator here who was absent, and you can see indicated those days that are absent. And of course, colleagues, it's not to say absenteeism from educators is not something that's not going to happen, but as SMT, we are interested in did learning stop? Did teaching stop on that day as a result of that absenteeism? And then to actually track if there's actually been an effect as a result of that absenteeism based on whatever subject that educator is involved with. So the long story there is that, the question is, what is the educator attendance in my school? Very quickly answered by the dashboard using the process that I've spoken to. And not only can you do that in summary just by seeing it the way that I've shown it, there's actually reports as well on the dashboard. And I've used the word reports a lot of times today, and I wonder if I've explained it clearly. But the long story short here is that if you are on the dashboard and you come within this reports tab, you'll see there's a list of reports which are pre-organized reports on any of the topics that we are talking about. These are, for example, the ones that I've highlighted, educators who've been absent for more than 5 days in the term. If you click on that report, it will download, and you'll actually get an Excel list showing all the learners who are absent for all the learners who are absent, for more than 5 days. As you can see here, as well, there's also, educator attendance percentage. And if you can see here, it will tell you the attendance of the educator. See, we've got some that have been below the threshold of 90 or on the threshold of 90, and they're marked as red, which means this educator is already being absent to such a point where it's marking red as possibly affecting teaching or learning time. So you can see there that percentage is also indicated as the number of days, in this case 5, right? And the confidence is just talking about how sure we are about this data. Did we have all that we needed to have in order to talk about this data? And you can see there's 100% there. Another report that talks about attendance, I've marked it here. You download it. Educator absent for 5+ days. If you click on that, you'll be able to see the educator name. And you can have a managerial or a leadership discussion just around ensuring that teaching time was not lost as a result of that absenteeism. What have I done now? Let me just project again. So, another problem that we have here is educator absenteeism impacting subject performance in my school. So now I've looked at that educator, I've seen they're absent. Like, for example, in this example, this educator 2275 Mary, right? If I land on the dashboard, I see there that their attendance is at 91% and indicated as red to say it's below target. If I were to click on that, it would take me to the very same thing I'm seeing there, which is basically the achievement of the subject that educator is teaching on, right? I'm also able to investigate to say, all right, there are tasks that are planned, in this term. Maybe let's say there are 4 tasks planned in this term. Have those tasks been captured? That can also talk to whether or not learning and teaching have stopped. You can simply see here, if you go to a part that talks about task marks still on the dashboard, you can be able to go to a subject that educator is responsible for and be able to see whether all those tasks are at hand, in which case here that 100% seems the SMT made a plan, maybe a substitute teacher, or maybe there was a step-in teacher that was there, right? And I'm also able to go to the achievement while I'm in that section. If I click on the subject itself, I can go here and see, oh, okay, the report pass mark is at 94% for the 885 learners that are here, and the exam test is also looking good, their pass rate there. So what have I done? I've actually investigated if this attendance has had an effect on subject performance, and it seems that it hasn't, saying whatever intervention we did in the absence of this educator was actually effective. Moving right along now to some of the other reports that are here, and I'm going to move through this one very quickly. The only thing I want to say to you here is that attendance is extremely important, especially now during a global pandemic where we've had to really pivot with regards to how we're going to do our school. And as part of this project, the Mfundo Phambili project, curriculum recovery is one of the things that are topmost. And we can't talk about that without quantifying exactly how many days have been missed. And as you can see, all kinds of reports that speak to that. I've spoken to some of them. One that I didn't touch on is the second one, term to date attendance report. This one is actually checking to see if we're doing the business of weekly uploading our data. Monthly attendance report, we can also have that, the term to date attendance report, I misspoke there. We can see the attendance for the term there. Monthly, we can see it using that monthly bracket. And the educator attendance percentage, we saw that one a little bit. Educators absent for more than 5 days, we saw those. And as you can see, reports are very available from all levels, except for the monthly attendance, which is only available in provincial level, but the rest available in the top layers that are above us as SMT. And again, what I want us to take away here is that the dashboard has an inconceivable amount of reports that can actually talk to us so that we have data. When we're talking about improving attendance, we're talking from a place of knowledge. All right. So, the questions that are about to follow, I'm very, very interested in these ones. So let me pose the first one, particularly around the rotation of learners. It says, how has the rotation of learners attending school affected attendance? How is your SMT capturing attendance on SSMs? And what is the importance of this for AG purposes? Anyone like to take a stab at that? Can I pick on the colleague from Thomas Mufolo Secondary? We are showing up as Thomas Mufolo. If you could just open your mic for us and just tell us, how has the rotation affected your school? Are you there? You might be on mute. Please unmute yourself and talk to us. Okay, doesn't seem that they're leaving. I'm sure they're having issues with their computer there. Violet, if I can pick on you, Violet, welcome. You must have come in while we were on the way. Would like to hear from you. How has rotation affected your school? Violet, are you there? Okay, I have someone actually who wants to tackle that. I have you as Relay Kisaubaka. I'm sorry if I've said that incorrectly. Please, unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm from Thomas Mufolo High.
Okay.
Okay, ever since learners have been rotating, we actually have a lot of learners who are not showing up to school. We've tried actually to give them a timetable where they know exactly when they show up. But because they come only once a week, actually, I have to be honest, the grade 12s come every day. The grade 8, 9, 10, 11 only come twice a week, or in fact once a week. So attendance has deteriorated a lot. And so what we do is we have registers. Every time learners show up, teachers, class educators, they take a register of how learners are attending. And then our administrative officers, they capture that information on SAs. So what does AG stand for?
Actually, that's a very good question. Lorna, would you like to weigh in there? What does AG stand for there?
Your Auditor General.
Thanks for that, Lorna. Are you answered, ma'am? Because we know the Auditor General is very interested currently on attendance. Isn't that right, Lorna?
Yeah, so
particularly interested. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Auditor General always check the attendance registers, and they want to see the trail from the class registers to how it gets consolidated, how it then gets captured onto SASAMs, and then sometimes they look at, the SASAMs data and the dashboard data is the same. So I suppose the question here is, in the light of you not easily being able to capture SASAMs or attendance on SASAMs, what is this importance around the attendance register for AG purposes?
Thanks for that, Lorna. Thanks for that explanation, Lorna. I think very clear and makes absolute sense and talks to us exactly about our processes there in the school. But I do want to agree, or rather just, comment on Ralai, let me just say her name correctly. Raleye. I want to speak about Raleye's experience in their school, to say that as a result of this, rotation, some learners are actually not even coming to school. Is this an effect that's just in her school? Is there anyone else who'd like to comment on this experience? Is it happening in your school as well? Anyone raise your hand, and I'll allow you to comment. Kutluanom Pateni, if I'm saying your name correctly, would you like to just talk to us? Is this an experience in your school as well? Has this rotation actually affected attendance on the days when the learners should be there? Anyone else who's sharing that experience? Someone just came in the lobby there. Violet. Okay. Victor, go ahead. I see your mic is on.
Yes, this rotation of learners, it's really destructive in our school, because it affects us negatively. We do not have a full complement of learners coming to school on the day that they're supposed to come. And we normally don't finish whatever that we have to do per week, because they only come once a week. And if you request, maybe you check on your timetable and find that you have a free period the following week, they get distracted, and they come and forget that actually they're supposed to come even on Thursday. So we normally don't have a good attendance. And I see on question 2 that you have even for teachers.
Go ahead, tackle that.
Yes, for teachers, we don't have a problem, because teachers are at school almost 5 days a week. The problem is with learners, and the amount of work that is expected to be done, we really don't cover it due to time constraints. I think that is our problem. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Victor. A very difficult situation. Because of time, let me move quickly to our final question. For curriculum recovery, what insights would you gain if you compare subject performance with attendance? And maybe if I can just take some liberty with that question. Is it a practice that we are doing to compare subject performance with attendance? Hetzba, if I can pick on you again. Have you been in a meeting lately where the subject performance was directly related to the attendance? Hetzba, you're on mute. Okay. All right. Let me just leave that question there. I think we've had some really good discussion points there. We are finding that Hetzba, there you are.
Sorry,
go ahead, ma'am. No problem.
It's almost like sticky keys, but I think my computer's just overloaded and then it reacts slowly.
I understand.
Not in a meeting lately, no, but it's always in our discussions every day. We have the same experiences. What other participants have mentioned is that when the learners don't attend, the marks go down significantly. And it's almost as if since lockdown, since COVID, it had become this global excuse for poor performance. Kids have become very slack and uncaring. Many of them in the streets.
Yeah. So it sounds like Hetzba is also having the same experience there. And I mean, just speaking as a parent, I have a 12-year-old here who we literally have to bully to go into school. So it does seem like the rotation is also affecting, I guess, the energy for it all, the motivation for it all to actually go to school. I wonder if there's another psychological component there for being to schools for so many days out rather than in. But thanks for those comments, colleagues. The good news there is that the devastation this attendance is having on performance will not be something that we'll be guessing. We'll have a number of attendance that will correlate to the achievement, and that's something that the dashboard can do for us, right? Moving along now to data usage for school management, curriculum management by SMT. And here I have, again, sectioned a piece of the dashboard. This would be the achievement section, which is the very, very last area of the summary page on the dashboard. And what I want you to walk away here, don't be confused by potentially complex looking data set here. But the long story short there is that you have the subject. So in fact, at this point, when you get to the dashboard, you can either view this information by grade, or you can look at this information by subject. And as you can see from this extract, we are looking at it by subject. And what I have here is the learner pass rate, which is at 64%, which is everything, the SPA, whatever class test and everything that was done in that term will be part of this mark. Then we have something called the report mark pass rate, which will only pick on the mark that has been ticked as either an exam or a common test for that term. And as you can see here, the learner pass rate 64%, representing 84 learners, improvement of 22% from the previous term. And let's just say here I like to call it the learner alone with the paper mark is at 51%. It's in the red, meaning it's below the expected threshold here. But interesting to see for physical science, we have the learner pass rate higher than that assessment that is as a result of the learner alone with the paper, right? So the question here is, why is there a greater than 10% difference between report mark and exam pass rate? Maybe let me allow it to you. Go ahead, raise your hand if you'd like to comment at this point, or simply start typing on our conversation there. What is your theory there that is seeing the learner pass rate actually performing 10% higher than the report mark? Could it be an assessment technique there? Are we seeing the paper itself more difficult than what is done in the classroom, right? Another point of discussion there to think about before I pick on some of us to talk to this. There's some excellent results here for both. Why is there a difference in the number of learners who wrote? So, some things that the data will bring to us. So we're seeing here, we have 507 learners that were part of the learner pass rate assessment, but when it comes to report, there's actually a little bit more there. That very quickly lends itself in a discussion about data quality, right? Then we've got a subject here that actually has, someone has armed their mic. I assume they'd like to comment. Shazi, afternoon, say, would you like to talk to us? Is that why you have your mic on? Okay, it's possible that they're dropping in and their mic is automatically on. Don't be alarmed, sir. I'm just going to mute you from my side with your permission, just so that we're not distracting the recording. All right. And then here we've got dismal results here. Why is social science consistently performing badly? And we can apply some problem-solving models here to try and get to the root cause of the problem here, usually starting with just pure guessing. Do we have an educator who is supported enough to bring that subject in? Is there some form of material to make the subject understandable that is missing there? And so why is social science consistently performing badly? So these are some of the questions we can actually uncover just from this piece here. And finally, we've got tourism landing itself in a position where the student alone with the paper is higher than what is happening in the classroom. Is this a mark adjustments? Is this moderation? 10% difference again. How can underperformance in report marks result in good exam test marks? So these are some, when we're trying to put the human in the numbers, and we're trying to actually say to ourselves, what is the thick data? What am I seeing when I'm looking at the numbers? Is there anything beyond what the numbers are saying from here? But I do want to, before I move on to that, just see if there is any comments with regards to this. In fact, let me just pick on one. Let me just pick on tourism. What are your theories as SMTs as a result on these results? What would be the scenario where the learner pass rate is actually lower than the exam? Is there anyone who'd like to take a guess there? Steve, I haven't heard your voice in a while, sir. Would you mind just arming your mic and just telling me what your thoughts are, wrong or right, about what's happening there with tourism in your guess? Are you there, Steve? Steve, are you there? If you can unmute yourself. Okay. Now that I think about it, it's probably an unfair question, but what I want us to take away here is that the data is definitely telling a story. And here's some of the things we can uncover there. Assessment techniques could be a question, data quality, teaching practices, and could we have done a moderation and adjustment there that landed itself in a report mark pass rate higher than a learner pass rate. All right. Moving along, so as you have seen so far, we've been looking at the things in the dashboard that I called items that are under summary. Everything that we've seen so far have mostly been under summary. We've talked a little bit about reports that come to attendance, but those are not the only reports that we're able to find, right? There is a report in the reports tab called the learner chart report, right? And this is a section of that learner chart report that we have downloaded. You'll notice there that every label or every description of the columns has a down arrow, and one of them has a down arrow and an arrow facing up. That's because we've put a filter, and it's a discussion that we have a lot whenever we're talking about these reports. And what the filter does is it allows me to use whatever column that I'm in to actually decide what data do I see. So for example, this column, what has happened here is that we have told the Excel spreadsheet to actually use this column to put the items in this column from lowest to highest. And very quickly, I've been able to identify, I want to say the top 8 or the bottom 8 performing learners in my school. And I can download this. And in this case, as you can see, I've downloaded it for grade 8. So for grade 8, I can see these particular learners here are performing below, almost level 1, around level 1 in terms of the levels there for English first additional language. And I can use any subject to actually see for myself what exactly are the learners that are performing the least in that subject. But the best way that I can really describe this report, the learner chart report, is if I don't want you to be taken away by the complexity of it. Very simply, what this report is a list of all the learners. So if you've downloaded it using grades, so for that grade, let's say grade 8, for grade 8, all those learners will be just put from top to bottom. And then in the rows, all the subjects that they perform in, and there will be a mark for each learner for each subject. And the nice part about it is that whenever the learner is performing, failing the subject, this report will automatically mark that learner's mark as red. So that's the nice part about this report. Very simple report, and you'll have the name of the learner there. It will say Musa Simelane, my gender, my age, and the subjects are participating. But one of my favorite columns, very personally, about this report is the number of subjects failed, because if I'm using filtering, I'm able to use that data to actually separate learners according to need for intervention. Hetzma, please allow me to silence you there. I'm just going to put you on mute. There you go. All right. So as you can see, as I've said, this is for grade 8, all the learners. And as you can see here, I've got the age as I've described. Very nicely as well, I can see what the promotion status was in the previous year. What I want to uncover is those learners that were progressed. As you can see here, if I can just pick on this learner, we have a learner that has been progressed, they've been pushed forward only to fail in the grade that they're in. So they were pushed into grade 8, pushed into grade 8, pushed into the phase, and not promoted. So are there any learning gaps there, content gaps for that learner? Some of the questions that can come up from there. And the number of subjects failed, of course, I've touched on that. And the nice thing is that I can compare that learner's performance, excuse me. For example, this first learner who's achieving 9% for English first language, I can see that the average for all the subjects, so kind of like their symbol for the term, is 17%. So this learner is probably underperforming in most of their subjects, right? That is the snapshot of the learner chart report. A lot more goes into that than what I'm talking about here. In fact, if you are interested, if you go to YouTube, on our YouTube, there's actually very nice content on the learner chart report, and I've actually put a link even in this training if you are interested in uncovering this report more. I could speak about this report for the 2 hours we have today, but just for today, we'll just give you that snapshot so you know it's there and you know what it can do. So I'm very interested. You just saw the learner chart report. What are your impressions of this information of grade 8 performance by English and maths? So let me just go back there again so that we see what I'm asking. So what is your impression of this report, and what are your impression of these learners for English and maths that I've put here? Is there anyone who'd like to tackle that question? I just want to know, what is your impression? What is your first reaction to what you're seeing in this report for English and maths for grade 8? Anyone who'd like to actually ask that question? Let me see if picking on individuals will work for me this time. I have Kutlwano Mbateni. You've been extremely quiet. I'd like to hear your voice, sir. If you could just unmute yourself and just comment on this report. What comes to mind as I've been explaining this report to you, the learner chart report? Kutlwano, are you there? No. Let me see who else I have on the list. Muhau Harold, I don't know whether that's your name or that's the name of your school, or the name of the school is JC Dr. Vilagazi. Harold Muhau, are you there, sir? Is there anyone who'd like to comment at all? Okay, I understand you. Oh, someone's, yes. Steve, go ahead.
What's that?
Yes, sir.
I am very sorry about that. Look, my impression is...
Steve, are you still there? I've lost you. Are you still there, Steve? All right, Steve, as soon as your connection is restored, just simply interrupt me. I'm very interested in hearing your impressions. Headspa, your mic is on. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, Musa. It was just interesting. It's just a part of the list, right? But it is frightening to see how low the performance is. We are in trouble. Am I right?
Well, I mean, as far as this report is concerned, that I can't really comment at which level it's been downloaded from. But if this is one of your reports, yeah, it does seem like a lot of work to do. But you know, yes. What I love about the report. Oh, go ahead, please. Go ahead. Were you making an addition? Were you saying something?
I was just affirming what you're saying.
Yes. No, I have to agree, but the bright side is that at least I know exactly what I'm dealing with, because I have the exact number of learners who are performing, way below average, and I can have an intervention process that gives the learner the kind of attention they need. Those learners that are needing a 10% mark to get to 50 seems to me, as a non-expert in rolling out curriculum, will call for a different intervention than those who are finding themselves at the 9% performance. So at least while we can see that we've got our work cut out for us for English and maths, the good news is that we have a tool that will at least allow us to properly section these learners or properly group them so that we can have the kind of intervention that's at their level of performance. All right. There's a question here. What recommendation would you as an SMT make to support grade 8? Consider progression of learners, subject pass, learner averages, and age of learners. I'm not going to flog the horse with this one, but you know, I'm glad. I'm very glad at Headspar's comment to say, look, there's a lot. Our work is cut out for us. There's quite a lot to do there, but I'm pretty sure the data will make that process infinitely easier than not. All right. Looking at the time, I'm very surprised that we have half an hour left. Time just flew by. But let's now go into the subject with the 30 minutes that we have left, where we talk about tracking learner performance. And again, here's another report for us, which is the principals dashboard. As you can see, it talks to us about the data there. And what we're seeing there is that we're seeing learners registered in the school, and we're seeing, for example, 161 learners, and we're also seeing the number of that learners having enrolled. So whenever you see the number of learners enrolled being equal to the number of learners enrolled, it speaks to good data quality. And actually this can also be done even at the summary level. When you're just going into your dashboard at your school, you can get a learner count from the pie chart that says learner attendance, and get another learner count from the pie chart that says achievement or learner pass rate. And then the two will give you the difference between learner enrolled and learner pass. So there we go. We've got a good data quality there. We've got a nice number there of the number of learners that passed. Right, so this report, I love it because it's very explicit, just telling us exactly where the school is. And, you know, you can see here the learner passed percentage here. You know, we've got a school here, mathematics, you can see we've got a 7 there. English first additional language, we've got a 69. Because this project is interested particularly in those two subjects, the principals dashboard can speak to those very directly. There is another tab in this. Remember, it's an Excel spreadsheet, so you can have several tabs at the bottom. One of those tabs is a comparison on the average mark. Basically, what this does is it gives you a view to say, okay, here's your school. How is your school performing compared to schools in the circuit? How is it performing to schools in the district? And how is it performing to schools in the province? So your school average mark, you can see here, for example, for this school for English first additional language at 43, slightly lower than what we're seeing from the 8 schools in the circuit. Also about almost just around 10% lower than the schools in the district. And again, still lower than what we're seeing in the province. And which tells us that perhaps the standard of the average of the school might also call for an intervention of a kind so that it's in line with performance in the school. And I mean, you know, I leave to you to deduct what the issue could be there in the school that's causing this, so that the school is so far away from the performance of that subject in you know, in its contexts, right? I mean, it could be the educator. If that's your guess, you can go to the dashboard and see how that educator is performing, right? And, you know, another tab there is, again, the comparison using the pass rate. Again, comparing your school to the context that we're seeing here. If I can just pick on one of these in the district comparison, the pass rate is at 78% for the school, which is accounts for 35 schools, and our school is at 57%. So as far as the district is concerned, the school finds itself far from the pass percentage, for pass rate percentage in its district, right? And here's some questions again. When can you see your school performance in comparison to other schools in your circuit? Let me just read that again. When you can see your school's performance in comparison to other schools in your circuit, in the district and in the province, how does that make you feel? How does it impact your actions as an SMT? Victor, if I can pick on you for a little bit here. So we saw there, for example, for English, this particular school far away from the district. How does that make you feel? Far away from the district performance. What is your reaction to that, Victor?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, sir. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. I hear you loud and clear, Victor.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay. I agree school because we do not belong to the same quintile. Now the quintile suggests hello.
No, I can hear you, Victor. Please continue. I don't know who said hello just now. Please continue.
Somebody who's listening. Thank you. Yeah, I say quintile simply indicate how much school is well equipped. Let's take physical science. Right. I teach in a Soweto school where the laboratory is not well equipped like any other school around Johannesburg. Obvious.
Nice one. Nice one. That's a very important point, you know, how resources a school, particularly for certain subjects, resources will do something to the school's performance. I mean, if I go back to that, you know, extract that I took from the dashboard, we had the physical science there really languishing as a subject. You know, a school that has proper resources. I mean, if part of the mark is a practical, of course, if the practical is not done, whatever school has the means to do that will actually affect that. So I'm glad for that point, Victor. It means to say, you know, when we're actually comparing from district to school, are we comparing apples and apples, right? Perhaps for a subject like, you know, physical science, that might not be the case. Can it be the case for English and maths? I don't know, but it's very interesting to see the school in the context, so that you know exactly where you're falling in that school. And Victor's absolutely right. Issues of quintile will actually do something to that mark. That is why even on the learner chart report or even in the school achievement report, the quintile is actually put there as well as a consideration when we're comparing, so that we do whatever handicapping we have to do so that we get to compare apples with apples. All right, moving right along. The next steps, outline of support process for schools. So, Lorna, if you're still there, I'd really love you to weigh in on here, because I know this is completely your baby, but there is a school management team user manual. And Lorna, would you mind just to speak a little bit about that, if you don't mind?
Sure. So, hi everyone. So this we've printed out a copy of this SMT user manual. There should be a copy delivered to each of your schools, and I'll send you an electronic or a soft copy of this. And the reason why we've given it to you is that as you can see on this page, it poses some questions that a principal /SMT, HOD /SMT can be asking. So you can be taking a look at some of these questions, and then in your SMT meetings, having discussions around that. And if you go to the next slide, please, Musa.
Of course.
There you go. So then what you'll find in the manual is an opportunity for you to kind of reflect and sort of think about it. But more especially, what I wanted to show you is that it gives you a step-by-step approach as to how to find the answers to these questions. So as an SMT, you've we've had this session together where we can kind of look at the amazing information that's available on the dashboard, but really what you need to do now is to go and have a look at your own school's information.
That's right.
And this user manual will be a way for you to kind of dig deeper into the dashboard in a guided way. You'll also receive a copy of this presentation, so you can also kind of get some tips and pointers in finding this information that we've discussed today for your particular school. Okay, and okay, that'll now keep quiet from here.
Thank you very much, Lorna.
Oh, you put yourself on mute.
I was wondering when I was going to do that.
There you go.
Thank you so much, Lorna, for that. I knew that you'd actually talk about this piece better than I would. But as Lorna has said, we're all going to be getting a soft copy of this manual. But what's important for us to do, just to go through those questions, I think it would be a nice start for our use on the dashboard. And it's at this point, colleagues, I want to thank you very much for joining this session. We finished 20 minutes before the scheduled time, so we had an optimistic time there. A couple of things that I do want to cover before we go our separate ways. We do have a DDD help desk. If you're sitting here and all this information that I'm speaking about the dashboard is really interesting to you, and you don't have access to the dashboard, this is how you can actually begin your access. You can just shoot an email to help@dbe-dashboard.co.za. You will be then taken through the process where you can have your own access. And if you want to reach out to the captains of this team, of this project, Mfundo Pambili, you can reach out to them via email. We have Lorna, and there's Lorna's email, who has been gracious enough to be with us in this session, adding her valuable opinion and comment. We also have Tembani, and there's their email addresses there. So anything with regards to this particular Zenex project that you might have, you can direct those queries there. Before I let you jump in there. Yeah, go ahead, Lorna.
Sorry, if you can go back.
Yes.
Colleagues, just to say that in the original invite that was sent to the schools, if you require personal access to the dashboard, there was a user application form that was submitted. And so you are welcome to get access to that, or as Musa says, you can email the help desk and request a user application form. It's a very simple process. You fill in your personal details, get the principal to sign it and stamp, put your school stamp on it, and you're welcome to either send it back to the DBE dashboard or send it back to me, and then Mr. Chetty and Emis will create a username and password for you, and then you'll have personal access. Alrighty, thanks. And
Great.
if you are having an S&T discussion and there's some data that you've downloaded and you'd like sort of more insights into, or some sort of discussion points around a piece of information, you're welcome to take a screenshot of your report or the dashboard screen that you're looking at and email that to me with your questions or just some sort of guideline around what you're looking for, and then we'll be responding to you very quickly as well. Okay, great, thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Lorna. All right, colleagues, with that, we had a very nice check-in using our camera and our fingers just to rate exactly what our experience was like. I would also like us to check out in that way. If you could, in fact, I'm just going to share my screen so that I make it a little bit easier to see how we can perform this. I would like you to rate your experience today. 1 thumbs up being okay, 2 being good, 3 being excellent. And as you can see, you're looking at my teams. You will simply come here to show conversations. And if you click on this type area here, you'll notice here at the bottom, there's a smiley face. If you click on that smiley face, you'll see one of the icons there is a thumbs up. For example, for me, I really enjoyed the session. So for me, it's definitely 3 thumbs up. But I'd like to hear from you. If you could just comment with your thumbs up as we check out. But I want to thank you for your time And while colleagues are commenting in this way, not everybody, just one or two of us, I'd like to hear from you. What was your greatest aha moment today? And how will you change the way you do things in the future? You can answer both. You can choose one of these. Both of those would be accepted. Anyone who'd like to comment? I see some of the colleagues are already typing their thumbs up or in the comment. But while that happens, is there anyone who'd like to comment on this checkout? What was a great aha moment for you today? And an aha moment is a moment that made you go, oh, like something you haven't known before, something you haven't seen before was discussed. A process was spoken to by one of our colleagues in the call that made you go, oh, and maybe that's something that you're thinking of maybe applying in your own school. Any aha moments? I'm gonna try and pick on Steve again. Steve, we lost you for a second there. Are you back, sir? And are you able to comment?
Yes, I'm back, Musa. I'm back. I'm very sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
My aha moment was that one when you said the 100% attendance for the learners. It is something that one has to go back and check again to ensure that this is the truth, because it is very unlikely to have all the learners at school at the same time. So that was my aha moment for me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Steve, for that. Okay. Victor, I'm going to pick on you just because you're next door. Your aha moment, or you could even just comment on how you're going to change things in the future, either or. Victor, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Musa. I was expecting that we will have something on emergencies like when we have COVID. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Because my experience is this is a normal situation that we're talking about, that we have discussed.
Yeah.
That the in a COVID, and then what emergency
All right, Victor, I seem to be losing you.
I'd like to thank you very much for this wonderful. Wow. Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you now. I'm catching just the back end of you thanking us for the session. Please go ahead.
Yes, I was thanking you for the session, and I'm saying I have learned more than I expected. And I wish you can rope in some other schools, because I can see we are only few. And I don't think it's just few of us that needs this kind of information. Almost every school, primary schools, high schools, all the special schools, whatever school, we need this kind of information. Musa, thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. No, I got that. So, yeah. I got the gist of what Victor's saying. Victor's saying, it seems our presentation today is really speaking to the ideal situation where things are going well. But with COVID-19, he was hoping to discuss some of the emergency scenarios that we're actually facing, with some commentary on that. I was hoping to actually, just pull some of that from the discussion. I didn't do the best job there, but I'm sure Lorna is here, and as our #1 content creator, I'm sure she'll be cooking up something for us in the future. Look at me, Lorna, putting you on the spot.
So I'm looking at myself. So
let me close that. I think now that I've demonstrated how to do the thumbs up, I think I can switch that off.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So Victor, I think you raise a really valid point, and I think the challenge that we find ourselves in this COVID situation, I think if we start with SA SAMS, I'm sure you're all aware that SA SAMS has not been functioning the way it always has, in normal times. And there's been some challenges around capturing your data or your assessment data on a regular basis. And that problem seems to have been resolved just recently. And so the schools and you as SMTs can now start capturing the data, your assessment data, and get that onto the dashboard. What is still a challenge, and what Musa raised earlier, is that the rotation cycle during COVID hasn't been addressed by SA SAMS yet. So, you know, the data going forward is going to be the attendance data is going to be inaccurate. Your grade 12s will be okay because they come in every day, but the grades that are doing rotations, that's going to be a challenge. And so, as Musa said, you know, the need for the Auditor General hard copy registers that you sign every day and, you know, submit to admin on a Friday are going to be so important. And we can hopefully, once SA SAMS has figured out how to capture all the different types of rotations that the schools are doing, then, you know, we can backtrack and capture that data. But I think you know, in terms of the crisis, we need to have a look at what is the assessment data and how do we start catching up? How do we start recovering the curriculum? You know, and I think Musa's covered a lot of the content or the reports that you will use predominantly as an SMT to start identifying where the challenges are in the curriculum at your school, and then as an SMT using that mirror and start planning your interventions accordingly. You know, and you will know best what's going to work in your school. You will know what resources are available and what teachers are available and what teachers need in terms of support. So I think this is, somebody's made a comment here about we need more workshops on DDD. Absolutely, like the coaching now that will come from Tembani and myself in this project, that's what we're going to start working with the schools on, so that we can really, you know, start working directly with you in your schools, with your environment and your data. And that way it'll become more and more relevant for you. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks
Yes,
for that,
Lorna.
Victor. Yep. Go ahead, Victor. Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying, Lorna, that which we have just said really makes a lot of sense, because you remember we had Musa saying the 100% attendance.
Yeah.
Now, if you have a learner that only comes once at school, then that learner will definitely have 100% attendance. Yeah. Unless if you say it's a 5-day cycle, then it will be something different.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it will show a very low percentage of attendance.
Yeah.
And while the learner is actually 100% at school.
Yeah, yeah.
So what you have just said, Lorna, it's thumbs up for me. I really agree with you.
Great, yeah. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that comment, Victor. Very valuable. I'm just going to read some of the comments here. We have Headspuff and Fianhazen with 1 million thumbs up in her heart. Sounds like she enjoyed herself today. Headspuff, would you like to add to that?
I'm writing you a letter here.
Let me not interrupt. Okay, go ahead.
Complicated. And I just love the way you guys presented this today. It seems like I don't need to be an Einsteinian rocket scientist to actually manage my way, and that I can do it. That was my great aha moment today. You made me believe that it's doable.
Well, it seems I've earned my paycheck today, Hats, but thank you very much. That's my goal. I appreciate it. I'm gonna let you go back to your long love letter there. Looking forward to seeing that. Steve Ramashala gave us 3. Thank you so much. We must have many more of these workshops. Well, from your mouth to Lorna's ears, Steve. And Violet Kulube said, I think I need more workshops on the DDD. Again, very well received. Well, with that, check out completed, colleagues. I want to again thank. I just want to thank Lorna for inviting me to be part of this. This was, I think, this was a good one. Thank you for staying till the end. Thank you for your participation. And I know how difficult it is to actually go on an online training. An hour online feels like what would have been 4 hours live, but you stuck through it, and I hope it has been valuable. It sounds like it was. From me, until I see you in the next one. I have a hand raised here from Shezi Mdeni. Please go ahead, Shezi. Arm your mic and ask your question, sir.
Good day, everyone.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you hear me?
Loud and clear. Please continue with your question.
Thank you. It's not necessarily a question. I had network challenges in most part of the meeting. So I'm wondering, are you going to share the recordings and on which platform?
Short answer there, Mr. Shezi, is yes. Let Lorna and I bump heads, but I'm sure she has an after training. Lorna, what's the plan there? Will you be sending the recordings to everyone?
Yeah. So I will put the recording into, I'll probably put it onto YouTube, and then send you a link so that you can access it easily.
And I'm going to steal Lorna's process from here on for training. I'm going to be doing that from now on.
Okay.
I hope you answered there, sir. So you're going to get a link that's going to take you to the recording on YouTube.
Thank you.
I hope that works for you. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for staying till the end. Until I see you in the next one, you have a wonderful day. Lorna, would you like to say your goodbyes there?
Yeah, just thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. Musa, thank you so much for doing such a great job. It's tough, guys. It's tough for all of us. It's tough presenting. It's tough participating, and I just credit you for being so engaged and involved. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you with some more coaching conversations in the project and our next PLCs, and so there's lots of engagement coming up. Take care, everybody. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, bye.
Thank you, Lorna. Thank you, Musa. Bye.